Hey guys, thanks for watching Weddings by Cled and welcome back to my office where I am always sitting here nicely dressed with a full face of makeup and my hair completely done to come at you today with some more T&A tips and advice. Today we're talking about things that your wedding planner should be asking you or else they should not be your wedding planner. So we're gonna start with number 10. So the number 10 thing that your wedding planner should be asking you is what's going on at the ceremony? What are the names of the bridal party? What order would you like the bridal party to walk in? Would you like them height-wise? Would you like them family-wise? How do you want them standing? How do you want them walking? Who do you want to walk your grandparents and your parents in? Who's escorting them? Why should they be asking all these questions? Because once you get to the rehearsal, you don't want to be figuring things out. You want to have it all figured out beforehand. And that is why our rehearsals, if I may say so, only last 20 minutes, maybe 30 tops. And that is because we as a team have already talked through everything. We've already talked through how everyone's gonna stand. We even make little pieces of tape with numbers on them and we give each bridal party member a number. And by the time they all arrive, we look at them and we say, hey Sally, hey Taylor, we know their names because we know Taylor's the first one in and Sally's the last one out or what have you. But the question is, tell me about your bridal party, tell me their names, tell me your family names, and tell me how you want everything to unfold. That's definitely something a planner should be asking. The number 9 thing that a planner should be asking you, or else they shouldn't be your planner, is your vendor contracts. Let me see the contents of your vendor contracts. Not just who are your vendors and what are their names, but what time are they arriving? The number 1 thing that your planner does for you for the weekend of the wedding is write your timeline. This is a process that should start the minute they book you. They should start asking you all the questions about your timeline. And the only way that they can write your timeline is if they know the contents of the contracts. They should actually ask for the contracts. And if you don't feel comfortable handing over all the contracts, at least tell them, this is the time that the photographer is starting. This is what they're providing. This is what time the caterer is starting, this is what they're providing, and on and on and on with every vendor. And the only way that a planner can actually write a timeline and say this is what time this person is supposed to show up is if they know that that person was contracted for that particular time, and more importantly, what time they're there until. Because how can you write a timeline if it has a grand exit or something in it if you don't know what time the vendor's there until? How do you know when to do the sparkler exit? If the photographer's leaving at 8, it can't be at 10. Just an example. So know what's in the contracts. Okay, so the 8th question that a planner should be asking you is, are there any family issues? And when I say family issues, I mean, does mom not want to see stepmom? Does cousin Ed not talk to Uncle Joe? We want to know these things. Why? Because we don't want to have any awkward situations happening at the wedding. So no, we're not just being nosy about your family stuff. We really don't care. But for the sake of the wedding, we want to know because we want everybody to be comfortable. We want everyone to feel engaged and we don't want to have any sticky situations going on. So please let us know if so-and-so doesn't get along with so-and-so, or they can't be in pictures together or whatever, or they can't be seated at the same table, or such and such might show up unannounced. We need to know these things so that we can be prepared and do our job as a planner so you can have a great day. Number 7, surprises! We need to know if someone's planning a surprise. So if the groom is like surprising the bride with an Elvis impersonator to come sing to her in the middle of the wedding reception, or the bride and groom want to do like a big toast in the middle of the ceremony and they've talked to the caterer about it, but we don't know, it's kind of like, whoa, what's going on? Because we, the wedding planner, are the contact to the entire group of vendors. So we want to make sure that everybody is there to capture whatever the surprise may be. I love surprises, and I know you do too. But we need to know if you have any up your sleeve for the day of the wedding, and your planner should be asking you, are there any surprises? Number 6, how much stuff do you have? Your planner should be asking you, how much stuff do you have? Translate stuff. DIY things that we may need to assemble for you. A lot of people say to me, well, I want to provide my own votive candles, or I want to provide my own vases, or my own, what have you. We want to know what they are. We don't mind putting them together. We don't mind putting them out, but we need to know how much stuff we're going to have to deal with. Because sometimes if we get a whole lot of stuff that we need to, say, assemble or unpackage, you would not believe the way some things are packaged. And if you're just gonna hand us a bag of stuff that you picked up at Hobby Lobby that you want us to put out, we just need to know ahead of time. That's all we ask. So your planner should ask you, how much stuff is there? Because if her team or his team has to take away time from what they already have scheduled, that's gonna cut in to their job and what they're supposed to be doing. So it may be that we need an extra person on staff for a certain number of hours during setup to make sure that we can manage all your stuff. Number 5, question. Bride, have you provided your guests with information / directions / signage so that your guests know where they're going? You know why we need to know this as a planner? Because guess who they ask? They ask the planner. They ask the planner everything. And that's why the planner should be asking you these questions, because it doesn't look good when we don't have the answers. It doesn't make us look like a good planner. And so that's why I, as a planner, need to ask you, have you provided these items? Because if you haven't, I can help you put them together, because we want to make sure that we have all the answers for your guests and your guests feel engaged and directed on the day of the event. Number 4, is it okay for guests to make toasts or song requests? And I say this from experience. I always ask my couples, is it okay outside of the normal parents making toasts and honor attendants making toasts? Is it okay for just like some rando guest to come up and say, hey, I want to make a toast? Is it okay for them just to go to the DJ and say, I want to make a toast? Because this can really open up a can of worms that you have no idea about. So if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. But I am always going to ask you, is it okay? Because if it's not okay, I will politely cut these people off and say, no, we can't do any toasts. Same thing with music. Do you want to hear You Got Back or Electric Slide or the Macarena? If you do, fine with me. But if you don't, make sure that you tell your planner or you tell your DJ, don't play those items. So a planner should be saying, hey, can we take requests, toasts or not? Okay, so number 3, another, awkward situation that we can avoid. I always ask my brides, are there any payments that vendors need to be receiving on the day of the wedding? I ask because guess who the vendors go to for payment? They go to the planner. They don't want to bother you, and I don't blame them. But we need to know so that we can be prepared. So as planners, we don't have to go up to you and say, hey, you got your checkbook? You probably don't in your wedding gown. So we want to make sure that we know what vendors need to be paid on the wedding day, because they like to get paid. So number 2, numero dos. That wasn't a 2, that was a 3. Okay, so number 2, numero dos. Do your guests have any health concerns that we need to be aware of? Here again, we're not being nosy, but we need to know, is somebody epileptic? Maybe we shouldn't be doing the lighting, what do you call it? The strobe lighting. Yeah, it's not real wedding-y, but some people like strobe lighting. But, does anyone have any type of disorder that could be impacted by that? Does anyone in the bridal party need a medical device or inhaler or anything? And that way we can have it ready if they need it. So we need to know that kind of information. Is anybody going to be coming in a wheelchair? One of the most awkward things is when someone shows up in a wheelchair, we don't know about it and we don't have a place, and we've got to scurry to make sure that they have a proper space. Just so that person can feel comfortable and feel welcome and know that we're thinking about them. So your planner should definitely be asking you about that. Now, the number one thing that your planner should ask you is, do you trust me? Okay? This is really, really important. And this is something that's even really hard to define or put into words, but something that I feel from my clients and that I hear from my clients is I know I'm in good hands. And that's something that you should feel. And it's okay for your planner to ask you, do you trust me? Because I think this is the most important thing, that this is someone that you feel comfortable putting the life of your wedding day into their hands to make sure that no matter what happens, no matter what changes on the timeline, that your planner is going to be able to huddle with the rest of the vendors and make sure all those changes happen and that everyone's on the same page and that you have an amazing, memorable wedding day. So that's your top 10, guys. Those are the questions that your planner should be asking you, or maybe you might want to look at another planner. Thanks so much for stepping into my office for some TNA and watching Weddings by Cled. So please subscribe. It costs nothing. It brings you fresh new content every single week, whether you're an aspiring event planner or a bride. It's so much fun to watch, and it helps me fulfill my dreams.